Okay, so here's what I want you to understand about January. January holds so much power for us to build, to create, to commit, to expand, to sculpt, the life of our dreams. But the very important question that is going to be repeated over and over and over throughout the entire month is, at what cost? 2025 was a year of endings in so many different ways, and for many of us these endings were quite challenging. They were a lot more difficult than maybe anticipated, or maybe they were very unexpected. Well, the good news is 2026 is thus the year of new beginnings. But before we shoot off into a bright, beautiful future, the month of January is where we build our solid foundation so that we may start again and start afresh on an entirely new cycle. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to January. So whether you're watching this still in 2025 or already in 2026, either way, happy new year to you. I hope you truly enjoyed the festive season, got a chance to recuperate and recharge, and are feeling motivated and optimistic about the year ahead. I certainly do. The festive period wasn't without its own challenges, even though I absolutely love Christmas and I love the month of December. There was quite a lot of shadow work that I myself had to do in the run-up to Christmas that wasn't expected, but nevertheless very important. And it gave me a little bit of a chance to really reflect on this year. And this year has been intense for a lot of people. It was in numerology a year of endings. It was a 9-year, which means that we are now heading into fresh beginnings, into a fresh cycle, into uncharted territory. And this is reflected in quite a few of the astrological transits that we're going to discuss today as well. So we're going to talk about the main transits of January. Obviously, I'm going to tell you how to best utilize them to build a solid foundation for the year ahead, because it's going to be a very interesting year that we've got ahead of us in 2026. And finally, I'm also going to tell you how exactly to use the different transits of January in all different areas of your life, whether that be your health, your finances, your relationships, your personal growth, your spirituality, your hobbies, your fun, everything. So let's dive right in. The year really kicks off with a bang, potentially, with Chiron stationing direct on the 2nd of January in the sign of Aries. That means that after that, we only have 2 major planets that are still in retrograde motion, and that's Jupiter and Uranus, and they won't stay in retrograde for much longer throughout the year either. Immediately afterwards, immediately the day after Chiron stations direct, we have a full moon in Cancer. This is no coincidence. This is a nudge towards taking actions that are healing for us. And the full moon in Cancer on the 3rd of January is a pretty significant event in and of its own. Full moons tend to be quite emotional times, either way you look at them. But when they're in Cancer, when the planetary body that corresponds to emotion is in the sign of emotion, things tend to get quite emotional. It's no surprise when they do. This full moon directly opposes both Mars and Venus in the sign of Capricorn. So there is a direct pull between our will, both sides of our personality, the feminine and the masculine, the part of us that wants to connect and the part of us that wants to go it alone. They are both tugging into the opposite direction of our emotions. And really it sets the stage for a theme that we are going to be experiencing pretty much throughout all of January, which is all of the personal planets which are moving through Capricorn are sliding in and out of opposition with Jupiter in Cancer, creating this tension. So there's a tension between our need to build something, to achieve something, you know, it's January, we tend to be a lot more motivated, especially those of us with a lot of Capricorn energy. I'm a Capricorn rising myself. I love this time of year. I feel so motivated. I feel like I have a direction. I have a plan. I want to really build something that's solid. I love this time of year. And a lot of us are feeling the same. We set our intentions. We've maybe just made our vision board for the year. We've got new calendars and new planners and new gym membership maybes, or we've just signed up for a course. We've got all of these grand plans and visions for the year ahead. And this is supported by all of the personal planets that are moving through Capricorn, although they are saying that what we need to build is to build steadily, to recreate ourselves steadily. Capricorn is also a sign of maturity. So we are more prone to make mature, wise, long-term favorable decisions. But then we have Jupiter on the opposite side, in its sign of exaltation in Cancer, pulling on that, and is creating this push and pull energy between wanting to go out and do our healthy habits and work on the business and work on our health and work on our social life, work on our impact, create this lasting legacy, and wanting to stay home and wanting to do what's comfortable and wanting to spend time with loved ones, with our family, or who we consider to be our family, between wanting some comfort as well. So a few key dates to remember. 1st of January, immediately on New Year's Day, Mercury moves into Capricorn. Our way of thinking becomes a lot more structured. The way we communicate becomes more mature and grown up. We are able to tap into long-term thinking, not only, you know, the big picture vision that's at the end of it, but the actual structure and the actual step-by-step plan in order to get to this grand big vision becomes more clear in our minds. Venus is already in Capricorn, but Venus will join Mars in Capricorn on January the 8th, bringing passion, bringing a desire to build relationships that stand the test of time. This is not chasing butterflies or chasing approval. This is creating relationships that last. This is the day of the power couple. If you have a date that day, if you have a serious conversation with a loved one that day, that is really the day to have that. Because whatever you create that day is built to last. One day later, we have a Mars cazimi, also in Capricorn. Mars is exalted in Capricorn. Mars loves being in Capricorn. And when it cazimis in the sign, the things we need to do become so obviously clear in order to get to where we want to get to. This is the power day of the month. This is where you have drive, where you have stamina, where you have motivation, where you have ambition. Any kind of work that requires effort, that maybe you've been putting off because it's difficult, because it's challenging, because it takes you out of your comfort zone, do it that day. Plan it for that day, because you are going to have such an incredible energy and motivation and drive like no other day. It also starts the beginning of a new 2-year Mars cycle. So this is the power day of power days, honestly. Then right before Aquarius season kicks off on January the 18th, we have a new moon in Capricorn. Fantastic day to really use that motivation, use the clarity that has emerged over the last couple of days of, you know, you just trying to ease your way into this new life that you're building, however that may look. Maybe it's not all too dissimilar from what you're living already. Maybe you are creating something entirely new. It doesn't matter. But that's a great day to, you know, set some intentions on what you're trying to build that lasts, what's going to stand the test of time, what is going to be solid in your life. I'm not going to be talking too much about this one. I go into a lot more detail about the new moons and the full moons and how to best utilize them in my newsletter. You can sign up totally for free. The link is in the description bar below. And there I also share the exact journaling prompts that I will be using to make the most out of these moons, and also any rituals that I will personally be doing to use that energy, which is very potent around a new moon and a full moon, to manifest what I'm dreaming about. Then, when the sun enters into Aquarius on the 20th of January, that's when things start kicking off. That's when things start transforming. That's when things start, the rocket ship launches, essentially. That's what's happening. Because we have a number of super powerful transits that get activated immediately. Part of the reason is because Pluto is in the early degrees of Aquarius. So anything that enters Aquarius is immediately meeting with Pluto, and Pluto will take any energy that it meets, that it touches, to the extreme. That's what Pluto does. So on the day, on the 20th, the sun enters Aquarius, Mercury enters Aquarius, Venus immediately conjuncts Pluto. Relationship situations get put to the extreme. The next day, Venus conjuncts Vesta, making things serious, making us consider what we are devoted to in our relationships. The day after that, Mercury conjuncts Pluto. The way we think, the way we communicate is revolutionized, is reborn from the ashes, essentially. The day after that, Mars enters Aquarius and the Sun conjuncts Pluto, which is one of the most transformative days of the year, where our personal power has the chance to be completely reborn. But we might also see some serious power struggles. I don't normally go into too much detail in terms of mundane astrology, but this is going to be a very interesting time to be watching what is happening on the global stage. Because here's what Aquarius is. Aquarius is revolution, it's disruption, it's community and society coming together as a whole. Aquarius wants what's best for everybody. And here's something that we don't talk about when we talk about Aquarius, all right? Because most of us know, okay, Aquarius stands for freedom, for science and technology and future thinking and communities. But there's another aspect to Aquarius that people don't talk about, and that is that Aquarius represents hope. And we see this mirrored across so many different things. We see this in the 11th house, which is ruled by Aquarius, which is also the house of dreams and wishes. We see this in the star card in tarot, which is correspondent to the themes of Aquarius in astrology, which represents hope, the glimmer of light after darkness. And so this is something that we might start experiencing as we move into this Aquarius energy at the end of the month, is revolution, disruption, but also hope, but also communities coming together and us really recognizing the value of standing together rather than standing as one. And just a few days after that, the big one, January 26th, Neptune moves permanently into Aries. I've already done a video on Neptune going into Aries, which I will also link in the description below if you want to see that. There will also be another one coming on this channel, which, you know, when an idea just chases you and won't leave you alone. So that's an idea that's been following me around regarding Neptune in Aries and how you can utilize that transit to transform your life over the next 14 or so years. It's going to be an interesting one, so if you're not subscribed, make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss that video, because it's been brewing for a very long time. But what we're saying basically is make the most out of the first, let's say, 2/3 of January to build something solid, to build something lasting, because you're going to need that. You're going to need those solid foundations for everything else that this year of new beginnings and new hopes and new creations is going to be throwing at us, because who knows what kind of new beginnings are ahead of us, but there is a little newness coming. That so much is guaranteed. So here's how to utilize January's transits in each and every area of your life. We're going to start with health and fitness. When we talk about health and fitness, we want to look first and foremost at Mars. Mars is in Capricorn. It's exalted in Capricorn, like I already mentioned. So physical energy should actually be quite high, at least in terms of stamina and endurance. Capricorn also rules the bone. Capricorn also rules the bones and the joints. So any kind of exercise that's going to build strength on your bones, so that would usually be weightlifting, great time to be doing that in January. But as with all Capricorn energy, you want to build slowly and steadily. Don't overdo it. Don't go to the gym and pick up the heaviest weight. Don't sign up for 3-hour exercise classes that you're not going to be able to stick with. And also make sure that there is a balance. Remember that tension that we already mentioned, there has to be a balance. You can't be spending all day at the gym or out running or whatever else that you're doing. Make sure that whatever foundation you lay for your physical health and your exercise is going to be sustainable. Is going to be sustainable throughout the whole rest of the year, which, the way it's looking, might turn out to be a bit of a crazy one with a lot of interesting and unusual things happening. For your relationships, there are a couple of key dates that we really want to look at. One, obviously, is the Venus-Mars conjunction on January the 8th. Passion overflows. Honestly, if you want to plan a date, especially if you take the time during the date to talk about serious things, to talk about the long-term vision for your relationship, perfect day for that. Even if you're not in a relationship, that conjunction is going to make you magnetic and very, very attractive. So if you're open to it, keep your feelers out. Who knows what might happen and who might cross your path. The Cancer full moon might bring up quite a lot of emotions. You know, it always depends on your personal chart and what's happening, but with a full moon happening in the sign of home, of comfort, of emotions, the likelihood that even if you yourself aren't experiencing any drama, the likelihood that you will come across someone and inevitably maybe get entangled in their drama is quite high. So just be on alert. This is something that might happen, even if it doesn't activate your own personal chart. So around the full moon, if people are being quite emotional, if you are being quite emotional, if you feel like you want to cry for no reason and laugh for no reason and, oh my God, what is going on? That's the full moon. We might be acting a little bit out of the normal around that time. So give yourself grace, give other people grace as well, and give them the space to express their emotions, which sometimes means just sit there and be close. Sometimes that means go away and do something else and let them deal with it themselves. Clear communication is going to be the key in that. You know, there's no harm in asking, do you need to be held? Do you need to talk? Or do you need to just be on your own? And give the other person some options. And ask for options. If someone's not friendly enough to do that for you, it's going to be very important to ask. If you're in a relationship and you're experiencing some challenges at the moment, those might be exacerbated with this constant opposition between all the personal planets in Capricorn and Jupiter in Cancer. You might feel tempted to stay away from home for a longer period of time or barricade yourself at home, depending on whether you live with your partner or not. And this can surface some tensions. If you do feel like things might have run their course naturally for your relationship, unless it's like really important situation, unless it's urgent that you get away, for example, if you're in danger or anything like that, then obviously get away as quickly as you can. But if it's not an urgent situation, I would wait with making any major relationship decisions until at least the new moon on the 18th of January. So you have some time to think things through and experience the full emotional spectrum of the situation that's unfolding, basically. For your finances and your career, Capricorn season is obviously fantastic for our careers. Capricorn is basically the business boss of the zodiac. So we all get a little bit of that in January, especially with this many planets being in Capricorn. This is really the time to sit down and make a plan. But you want to have a vision. And if you need to be flexible with that vision, that's fine. But you need to have a vision, you need to have a goal. So set those career goals, set those financial goals, set those business goals, because you're going to, with Mercury in Capricorn, you're going to be really clear-headed and be able to see where there is the highest potential for growth, where there is the highest potential for a return on your investment. And that investment might be in literal investments in the stock market or in bonds, etc. It might be an investment in yourself. You may wish to decide to pick up some new skills, to improve yourself in various different ways. Those are the best investments. Promise you, those will always come back to you 100-fold. Your investment might be to pay down some debt if you are in debt, and make a plan on how to use your money more wisely. Great time to be doing that. If there's any new products that you want to launch, a business that you want to launch, maybe a big promotion, a business promotion, maybe you are employed and you want to talk to your boss about a big idea that you've had, so like an internal project that you could be working on, any kind of business related launches. The Mars cazimi on January 9th is the perfect day for that. In terms of creativity and fun and hobbies, the start of the month really is going to be about pacing yourself. And having that balance between the things that are fun, the things that you find creatively fulfilling, and your responsibilities, essentially. And of course, also the need to relax and chill and recharge that creative battery. So really January, most of January in terms of creativity, purpose, in terms of hobbies, is going to be slow and steady. Make sure that you don't neglect this area, but don't overdo it. Don't become overly ambitious with how much you can achieve in a day. Because then at the end of January, when we are moving into Aquarius season, and most importantly, when Neptune, the planet that really influences our creativity, moves into Aries for good, things are going to shift quite a lot. What inspires us is going to shift on a collective, global, societal level. What we find aesthetically pleasing is going to shift. Neptune rules the arts, and again, this is something that I'm going to talk about in my upcoming video. We're going to go into a bit of detail into how you can utilize this societal shift to your advantage. And a lot of things are going to get redefined on a very fundamental level. So just be open to how the collective mood is going to shift, and be open to some breakthroughs, and be open to some potentially radical new ideas coming in at the end of January. And something similar is mirrored also in the field of, spirituality, your soul work, soul evolution. Chiron going direct almost at the start of January means that we are ready now to heal. We are ready to let go of old stories, and if things that trigger us come up, they are now coming up so that they can be resolved. Not so that they can be analyzed and rehashed and regurgitated and looked at from every single possible angle. We are now meant to actually move forward with the healing and with the solution. Full moon in Cancer is obviously going to bring up some potentially deeply buried emotions. But again, Chiron being direct facilitates healing that comes from airing all of those emotions, however we might choose or not choose to air them around that date. And with Neptune moving into Aries, that also redefines not just our creativity, like in the previous point, but also our spirituality. How we believe, what we believe in, how we see our purpose, how we see meaning behind the seemingly random things that are happening all around us. How we see and understand meaning in the rich symbolism of life that is all around us. So be open to your spiritual beliefs if not changing, then gaining entirely new perspectives starting at the end of January. And that's only the beginning. We're going to have Neptune in Aries for several years, so this is only the start. But it might be a good time now in its final journey through Pisces to review what kind of spiritual beliefs you might have been clinging on to that don't really have a space in this new era that we are all collectively about to enter. Okay, so here's what I want you to understand about January. January holds so much power for us to build, to create, to commit, to expand, to sculpt, the life of our dreams. But the very important question that is going to be repeated over and over and over throughout the entire month is, at what cost? Will you build a legacy at the expense of your relationships? Will you climb so high that you completely forget why you started in the first place? Will you create success that feels empty? And this is an exciting question to ask, really, because it means that the potential for how high we can go is so high that we need this counter energy, this counterbalance to ground us, to make sure that we don't forget the things that truly matter in all aspects of life. So the full moon in Cancer, the constant Jupiter opposition, the final shift into Aquarius, all of those are providing the answer to that question. And it's, well, neither. There has to be a third way. There has to be a better way that doesn't take us into either of the extremes. Not ambition at the cost of love, or love at the cost of our dreams. So let's get building, but let's build consciously. Let's build in balance. Let's build something that has some real staying power in what's coming up in the months ahead. And if this spoke to you, save this video so that you can reference it back throughout all of January and reutilize all the helpful tips in all of the various different areas of our lives in which you can truly make the most out of January's energy and astrology. And do let me know in the comments, what are you excited to build? What are you working on in January? Where are you launching something and creating something new? I would love to hear about your story. And I'll see you again next week in the next video. Ciao for now.